All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Happy Friday to everyone out there. We have 7 games on today's NBA slate. It's November 3rd. We're going to go through each and every one of these games. As always, we'll give you my lean on the spread as well as my lean on the total, but all my final plays, if you want to fade me, those plays will be in the pinned comment. Happy to report a sweeping last night. So, yeah, let's get the cheers going, right? Oh, no cheers. It was a reverse sweep. A reverse sweep. Everything we touched last night turned to crap, which has been sort of a theme for this past week, which is just tough. So we're going to cleanse right now, right? If you have headphones on, watch out. We're going to turn the soundboard all the way up. It's not going to be too loud. And we're going to drop one last womp womp that should cleanse our bad juju going on right now. All right. That should take care of things because I don't know what's happening. Death by 1,000 paper cuts. For example, the first game on the slate was trending towards an over yesterday. That was the Sixers and the Raptors game. We had the over 213.5. Wouldn't you know it, they finished at 213. Kind of sums up everything we're talking about here. But that is all in the past. Something else in the past that happened that was actually a good thing was the ride of the day coming in from Soyhead. Tobias Harris here, over 14.5 points. Tobias finished with 23 points, 7 rebounds, 3 steals, 3 assists in that big win against the Raptors there. So shout out to Soy. If you guys do want to be the ride of the day and show your skills against mine and prove that you can win while I'm losing, you can go ahead and use hashtag ride of the day. Only bangers allowed with that, guys, though. If you don't think it's locked, don't even bother putting it in there. Hashtag ride of the day. I'll be jumping on board with one person's pick in the comments and giving you guys a shout out in the next video, win or loss, just like Soy here. If you win, we celebrate. We're pumping some crowd noise. If you lose, you might have to face the womp womp like we've been facing. But it ain't all that bad. There's always tomorrow. But go ahead and drop those hashtag ride of the days in the comments. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. Let's jump into game number 1. We have the Pacers taking on the Cavs here. Indiana coming off of a pretty bad game against Boston. They lost by 51 points, which is yikes. Cleveland comes back from that loss against New York and beats New York the next night, 95-89. Right now, Indiana sitting as 2.5-point favorites at home. Total sitting at 225. I've also seen it at 224 on some sports books here. In terms of my lean, I am going to take a peek at the Pacers here. Now, Darius Garland's questionable. Tyrese Halliburton's questionable. Jarrett Allen is out. Like a lot of injuries to note within this game. So if you are looking to bet on this game, maybe wait out those injuries. Don't gamble on the line if you're already gambling on the game. But yeah, game time decision for Garland. I don't believe Allen's playing, and then Halliburton's also a game time decision. So obviously Garland and Halliburton are going to be 2 absolutely huge names to monitor here. But kind of regardless, say everyone doesn't play or everyone does play. That's how I'll talk about the game here. If there's, one of those guys plays, one doesn't, it's going to lopside the line. But I think Indiana's a little bit too fast for Cleveland. Cleveland, I think they have a good team, but that defense is not the same without Jarrett Allen. And if you have a Pacers team that's shooting more balls, which they do lead the league right now, and I believe it's field goal attempts, and they're like 3rd in field goals made, that's just a sheer quantity thing as well, right? But if you have a team that shoots that much on a team that I think is lacking defensive presence, in which they had it last year, right? Like, this is a defense that just doesn't seem to be, I think they're more middle of the pack than top tier like they were last year. So quantity over quality in this one. I think Indiana at home can run Cleveland out of the building very slightly. And like I said, there's plenty of injuries that we want to monitor here. Total sitting at 225. I like the over, but I think it's going to be a public play. Cleveland has not been scoring all that many points last 2 games here, but it was against the Knicks, so a slower team, 91 and 95. When they played the Pacers, what was that, a couple nights before Halloween, right? They went out there and scored 113, and the Pacers won 125 to 113. So that was a high-scoring game there. So I think that gets repeated just to some degree here, and we see around 230 in terms of a total. But keep an eye on the pinned comment for any of those plays becoming final plays. Next up, Milwaukee takes on the Knicks on the season here. Milwaukee sitting at 2-2 straight up and 1-3 against the spread. The Knicks 2-3 as a record, 2-1 against the spread here. Milwaukee though 2-1 at home, so they have been playing better. They yet to get a road win here. Milwaukee as 6.5-point favorites. I don't necessarily hate this spot for them. I do think that this is a team that when they're going to win, they're probably going to win. I guess you could say fairly big as the season progresses, but we haven't necessarily seen that entirely so far. Obviously, they win opening night against Philly. That was by 1 point, right? Miami even kept that game closer than I would have thought. They still won that game by 8 points and covered, but just barely. That being said, I don't know if I fully buy into this Knicks team yet. They've had a couple bad losses to start the year. New Orleans, then even that Cleveland game. So give me Milwaukee here, minus the 6.5 points. The total sitting at 227.5. Seems fairly high, but in terms of what we've seen out of Milwaukee, it's been an over team so far. Out of their 4 games, they've hit 3 overs, and from their points per game perspective, they're cruising 118, 110, 122, 111, scoring a bunch of points, so you can't really knock that. I think it might be silly to take a peek at the under here. So though this is a good Knicks defense, allowing the second fewest points per game in the league so far, I think that this Milwaukee offense is better, and they should be able to push the pace of the Knicks and, you know, push this one towards a 230 total. Yesterday, we looked at a bunch of unders, and today 2 for 2 so far and taking a peek at the overs. All right, Chicago taking on Brooklyn. Chicago 4-point favorites here at home. Total sitting at 219.5. Big injury to note because it does kind of sway my lean in this one. Spencer Dinwiddie still questionable with that ankle. He didn't play last game. Not sure. They haven't said anything about him playing or not for this game. If he is a go, I do like the Nets in this spot. They're 4-0 against the spread. Even without him, they actually took the outright win right against Miami. And they were, 7-point dogs, and they take that game. So I've been saying it since the beginning of the year that this Nets team, I think, is going to be a good cover team, especially when they get Claxton back. Obviously, that's a pretty big blow to them as well. But if this comes down to Dinwiddie playing, I do think that this could be a decent spot for the Nets to keep this one at least to within 4 points. If he doesn't play, I'd probably stick away from this altogether because I think they might be a little bit too unpredictable without their sort of guy leading the helm there in Dinwiddie. Total sitting at 219. I don't mind the over in this spot. I think this one gets up to 220, but now I'm starting to sound like a broken record, taking a bunch of overs. When the unders don't work, we take overs. Actually, we did have an over yesterday, and it didn't hit, right? So maybe I'm all tied up backwards here, but I do think that this is a spot in which we could say see a decent amount of points scored. The Chicago defense isn't all that great, and this Brooklyn offense nearing 118.8 points per game this year, like not all that terrible when you look at it, right? So I don't mind that whatsoever. Even the Chicago offense, they're scoring 106, but they're going up against a bottom 10 defense in Brooklyn. Again, without Nick Claxton, it's a pretty tough defense, anchor that you miss. So I think this could easily be at least a 110 to 110 type game, and then we'll see the better team wins at that point. But that's over that 219.5. Give me the over. Again, if Dinwiddie goes, I like Brooklyn plus the points as well. All right, OKC taking on Golden State here. Golden State 4-1 on the year, 3-2 against the spread. Good to note here, they've hit 4 unders out of their 5 games here. And then the Thunder, 3-2 on the year, 3-2 against the spread as well. They've hit 2 of their 5 games to the under there. Golden State has not lost a game on the road yet, and the Thunder only 1-2 at home. Now, 5 points I do think is a lot to give this Thunder team, so I'm a little bit, cautious here. But Shai Gilgeous-Alexander is out in this game, right? Not playing, or most likely very unlikely to play. If he does have some miraculous sort of comeback, then obviously this changes things. But Golden State winning by 5, it's a healthy Golden State. They definitely have the better defense out of the 2 as well, right? Give me Golden State here minus the 5 points. If we can get that at 4.5, maybe it's worth it buying a 5.5 points there or something like that too, because Golden State has covered this line, but that 4.5 I do like a hell of a lot more. It feels a little bit safer there. In terms of the total, I really like the under. We've seen the Thunder obviously score a decent amount of points this year. This is all with SGA too. But when they play good teams, or good defenses, I should say, they slow down and score less points, right? We saw it with New Orleans. We saw it with Denver. Even called Cleveland, a middle defense, right? It's not like the Detroits of the world and the Chicagos of the world that they put up a bunch of points. I think we're onto something here with, the Thunder are a good team, but when they play a good defense right now, Golden State top 5 in points per game allowed, right? I think that they slow things down a little bit, and they're not nearly as prolific on the offensive end. So Golden State, number 1 team in field goal percentage against, number 3 team in 3-point field goal percentage against. I'm loving the spot for Golden State's defense to really be able to do this. And what I like, Golden State, as the game gets better, they rank 2nd in 3rd quarter points and 6th in 4th quarter points. So this is a defense that just gets better and better as the game goes on, meaning that under, even if it looks like it's trending towards an over, all of a sudden an under could hit. So give me the under 229 here as well. If we can get a better line here, maybe like 230, then yeah, I'll jump all over that. But we'll keep an eye on what the line is, because I've seen this move down quite a bit, or move around quite a bit, I should say. All right, guys, before we get to the rest of the slate, don't worry, I'm not trying to promote anything or anything like that, but I do want to talk about a cool thing that we have on the channel right now. We're going to start listening to it. It can be hate mail. It can be, you know, you guys are telling me your favorite stories, but we're going to open up a voicemail line, and we'll play those voicemails, or a voicemail. We'll pick one day that we can go through them at the end of a show or something like that. But the line is 617-302-6363. I'll put that in the pinned comment as well, so you don't have to remember it. But yeah, go ahead and drop a voicemail. If you hate me, tell me how much you hate me. If you love the show, tell me how much you do that. If you do have some great gambling stories or something like that, something fun that we can listen to, make sure to drop that. I will say it's probably going to come out, you know, days after you call in, so it's not time relevant, but yeah, go ahead and drop a line there, guys. 617-302-6363. We'll play a couple voicemails here in the near future. Very excited about that sort of implementation into the channel. Second thing is, we got a great comment yesterday, and I want to kind of adopt it. It's like, we got to have like a channel emoji, right? I'm thinking the fish emojis for the guppies, right? Either a fish on the hook, because there's emojis for that, or just a fish. So go ahead and drop the fish emoji if you're still watching right now. But if you have any other emoji ideas, drop some emojis in the comments, and I'll look at what gets the most likes. Then maybe we have sort of a national flag of an emoji, right, for the channel. So go ahead and drop those. But let's get back to the slate here. Just two kind of channel brand updates I wanted to jump into there. All right, next up, we have a game that, I'll be honest, I don't like all that much. Miami has not nearly impressed me this season, and they shouldn't have impressed you, obviously. They're 1-4 on the year, 1-4 against the spread, taking on a Washington team that also kind of stinks, but 9.5 points seems like a hell of a lot to give Washington. Washington coming off of the loss to Atlanta, right? But they kept that to 9 points. So I reluctantly lean towards Washington here, just because I don't believe in Miami yet. Now, if Miami goes out and wins this game by 1 million and starts to sort of get the wheels on the track and everything like that, then I think I'm confident that they'll become a better team. But right now, you do have sort of a banged up Martin's out, right? Butler and Love. I just don't really love what I'm seeing from them, and 9.5 points seems crazy, even though I've literally called Washington a JV team on the channel, right? Like, I don't think that they're very good at all. They have the same amount of wins as Miami this year, right? So it is a little like, oh, what are we doing here? And Washington's had to play, you know, Boston and Atlanta back to back. Miami's losing to teams like Brooklyn. Minnesota's a good team, but, you know, only beating Detroit by 1. Like, not impressed by them so far. Too big of a number. But in terms of a total, 226, I think that this line is a little off here from when we grabbed the screenshot, because I've seen right around 224. So if we have, you know, if this is dropped that much and we can still get 226 somewhere, by all means, I don't mind it. I think that this is such an under spot, because again, I don't like either one of these teams. And looking at their trend so far here, Miami has covered the under in 2 of their 5 games here. Now, Washington, not really to any fault of their own, I guess you could say, have been trending in an over direction, but that's because they've let up 143 to Indiana, 126 to Boston, 130 to Atlanta. You know what I mean? Like, they're letting a lot of teams score on them. I don't think Miami's going to necessarily do that. So I'll lean, again, reluctantly towards Washington, as well as a slight lean towards the under. All right, next up, taking on Denver taking on Dallas here. Denver, pretty heavy favorites, -6.5. I've also seen it at -7 on books, so maybe it's moving in that direction. Not necessarily just one book has it at -7. But in terms of what we're seeing here, Denver, obviously a really good team, right? We know that. But Dallas, kind of the Dallas Maverick, the dark horse, no pun intended, so far, in my opinion, this year. Now, I wish that we could capitalize on this more, because we've won with Dallas a couple times now, right? Because we kind of were on top of that. But do they have what it takes to beat Denver here? Maybe not beat, but 6.5 points is a decent amount. You have a banged up Jamal Murray as well as a banged up Jokic. They're both probable, so it's probably not that big of a deal, right? And then Kyrie Irving and Kleber are also questionable for Dallas there. So we want to keep an eye on that. Obviously, Kyrie being the bigger name there, but Kleber as well. I like Dallas if everyone plays. If all, you know, health and everything is aside, I do think Dallas can keep this game somewhat close, which is a little crazy to say, because this is such a good Denver team. Now, if it was Denver -2.5, I'd be on Denver. So there is sort of that fine line of what we're looking at here, but I could see Dallas going out there and at least making a game of this. Again, they're playing good basketball, like not basketball that you tip your nose at. Kyrie's had his mouth shut. Luka's looking absolutely ridiculous, phenomenal, right? Like, this is I don't think he had a good game last game, but nonetheless, this is a legit team. In terms of what I'm looking at in the total, too, this Dallas team putting up points out the wazoo, averaging 122.5 points per game here on the offensive end. I will say, I think they're one of the better fourth quarter scoring teams too, which I just talked about with Golden State. Like, guys, that late game sort of points per game is huge when it comes to totals, over and unders. It's really something I'm trying to dive into this season, because games can go like that, in the third quarter, right? For bad or good. But nonetheless, Denver here, they're also, I would say, a middle of the road offense. If they both just go out there and do what they do, this is a Denver team that's going to give you 111, and Dallas is going to give you 120. And I don't think it's going to be that sort of, lopsided in the scoring effect, but 230 ain't all that hard to ask for here, because Dallas is not the best defense. They're in the bottom half of the league here, and they're just letting teams get out to the races. So hopefully this is a game in which starts pacing that way, and then, like I said, Dallas can continue to score points late, and Denver sort of is in this game with them, maybe winning by a couple points too, because it would make Dallas try harder. So give me the over 227 here. Not a bad spot. I wouldn't be surprised if we have a same game parlay in there somehow. Maybe Dallas like plus 12.5, which seems even like crazy to do, right? And then over 221, something like that. We'll massage the numbers a little bit to see what we got going there. But yeah, I like Dallas to keep this game at least within reach, and then that over I think has a good chance of coming through. Again, it's 227 here, but I think you can get that over on at least Bet 365, which I don't have access to, for 224. So this might be a line that either this is the old screenshot when we recorded it and it's moved down, which I do not mind, lower line, because if we can get this to like 218.5 in some sort of a same game parlay, sign me up. But that's what we're rolling with as of right now. Keep an eye on the pinned comment as always. All right, Portland taking on Memphis. I mean, we might put $1 million on this game. This seems like such a, not actually, because I don't know if I can trust Memphis, but doesn't this seem like such a Memphis spot? They've had a couple days rest here. Portland, obviously not the best of teams, but Portland coming off of 2 straight wins. Do they really make it 3 in a row? Like, I think this is a bad Portland team too, right? And Memphis minus 2.5 points, searching for their first win. It just seems like a good spot for them here. My only concern is, like I said, I don't really sit here and say, oh, this is a good Memphis team. No, they're 23rd when it comes to points per game. Defensively, they don't really have that defense that you'd associate with Memphis, right? Allowing the 5th most points per game, 6 above the league average. Like, this is not a Memphis team that you're used to. That being said, Portland's offense, the 2nd worst in the entire league right now from a points per game perspective, the 5th worst from a field goal percentage perspective, 3-point percent and 3-point makes. They are dead last. So this is a team that just is not built for today's NBA, sadly, right? So I will say that this is just a spot in which I think that, Portland won 2 games in a row. That's cute. I don't really buy into them as of right now. And Memphis, you got to think that they're looking to go out there and get their first win. They are a really, really, really poor offense as of right now, too. So don't act like I'm telling you Memphis is going to go out there and score a boatload of points. No, there's a reason this total is down at 218, and there's a reason I still like the under. It's because of the lack thereof of offense. And Portland actually has like a sneaky, decent defense. I'll put it at defense, right? So I'm thinking this is the grinded out game, which Memphis has that grinded out mentality in their blood, no matter who the coach is, who the player is. It's just the grit of that team. So I'm thinking they pull this one out, and I also like the under as well. Again, Bet 365, you guys are over there. Plenty of good lines. They have a total right now of 220.5, so that's 2 more points of value. But yeah, give me the under as well as Memphis, either on the money line, because I don't think that those odds will be all that bad, right around minus 135, so or minus 2.5. But nonetheless, guys, that's what we have for today's show. We got to get to winning basketball. We got to get to winning basketball. NFL's cooking. We had 4 plus money plays in the NFL last night, 3 of which hit, 1 for plus 200. So NFL's doing all right. Obviously, that's a huge focus, but basketball's the bread and butter. If you don't know, that's how we started these picks channels, picks videos. So got to get going in the NBA. More negative days than positive days so far. Still hanging in there. Last night was the first sucker punch to the face that we got. Other than that, it's been like 2 and 3 nights or 3 and 4 nights. But, last night, a terrible, terrible night. But nonetheless, guys, that's what I have for you in today's video. Hope you guys did enjoy. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and we'll catch you guys in the next one, right? And drop those emojis in the comments. I want to see what we got cooking up there. But catch you guys in the next one, right? Peace out.